It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 244, entitled Change the Names, Dennis. It was recorded on Monday, the 13th of April, 2023. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and today I'm joined by three fabulous guests. I'm joined by Kathy Zant, by Maestro Stevens, and also by Mike Demo. We have a really interesting conversation which goes off in a lot of different tangents today, but it's WordPress mainly. We talk about the WordPress roadmap, which is coming up during the course of 2023. We talk about whether or not it's okay for plugin developers to change their pricing, and also we talk about the plugin review team and if it's overworked and whether it should be a paid for position. We also talk about the WP Community Collective. I've got some events coming up this week, WS Forms demo and the UI UX chat that I have with Peach and Eri each week. We get into how you should price your plugins and if $20 is a little bit too much to ask for an unlimited license per year. Plugin news in other directions. Main WP have partnered with Jetpack. Jetpack has also added in some Mastodon sharing buttons, and we go into the whole Twitter versus Mastodon debate. And then we also talk about a whole bunch of WordPress events which are coming up. There is Cloudfest, there's WordCamp Phoenix, and there's also Kadence Amplify. It's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. Hello there, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Very nice to have you with us. We are WP Builds and we are on the This Week in WordPress episode number 244. Crikey. Joined as always by some fabulous guests. We're going to have a chat about the WordPressy stuff and a few other bits and pieces as well, including the British government deciding that internet security is not worth having. But we'll get onto all of that a little bit later. Let's go round the panel and introduce the guests. First off, let's say hi to Kathy. How are you doing, Kathy?
I'm doing very well. So good to be back.
You have a lot going on in the next few days by the looks of the things that you posted in the show notes. Yeah, busy. Kathy is well, I love your little bio that you've put in here. Kathy is the director of marketing for Kadence. You'll find out more about that in a minute. But she's also very much into security and hacker culture, which we'll find out more about in a minute. She's speaking at WordCamp Phoenix, which we'll find out more about in a minute, on March the 24th, and she's running a single-day event called Kadence Academy, which, yeah, you get the idea. It's later this week, March the 16th. Maestro, we'll talk about him in a minute, we'll be speaking there, and what a segue that is. Kathy, that's just full of good stuff. Thanks for doing that.
Got a front, director of marketing. I got a front load with everything I'm doing, right?
Yeah, that was a great bio. That's great. And well, thanks for joining us once again. I really appreciate it. First timer, Maestro, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
I'm feeling great. Excited. Thank you for having me, Nathan. I appreciate it.
You are so very welcome. Maestro Stevens is a highly skilled marketer, webmaster, and founder of the iconic Expressions creative agency. He's got 8 years of experience in areas such as marketing strategy, brand strategy, web development, and project management. He's also a proud father and enjoys using technology and strategies to simplify life and cooking, reading, and traveling. In 2022, Maestro developed a template platform under his agency called Iconic Templates, which focuses on creating free and premium templates for WordPress users. You're busy as well. Yeah, we should really get you on the podcast at some point to talk about all those templates. That would be really, really great. I appreciate having you with us. That's fabulous. Thanks for joining us. And Mike, how are you doing? Mike Demo.
Good. Thanks.
You're very welcome. Mike has gone for the antithesis of the long and complex bio. Mike's gone dead short, which is kind of fun. He is the head of partners at Codable. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I've got to say, I'm loving the glasses. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but the way that the glasses are mirroring what's on the screen, it just makes you, I don't know, there's just something a bit cool about it. Like, that's great.
Yeah, they're my new Gunner blue blocking glasses. So they do reflect quite a bit, but they're really good for
in this
work.
scenario. I think it's perfect. Yeah, thank you. So 3 great guests. Thanks for joining us. And just a few bits and pieces. If you're joining us live anywhere, the best place to do that is wpbuilds.com/live. In fact, stop what you're doing, put your banana down, and go and tweet that to somebody, or go onto Facebook and say, come and join us, wpbuilds.com/live.
I forgot my banana. I didn't know about the banana.
I actually got a really rumbly stomach about 2 minutes before we kicked off, so I ran and got a banana. I shall be eating it during the show. But if you want to go and share that, I'd really appreciate it. It's always nice when people come in, drop comments and all of that kind of stuff. That's really nice. So wpbuilds.com/live. If for some reason you're on Facebook and you're joining us, there's a little hoop you've got to go through. If you don't want to be anonymous, you've got to go to chat.restream.io/FB. It's on the screen. chat.restream.io/FB, and give Restream permission to tell us who you are. But yeah, go share that. That'd be really nice. Appreciate that. Okie dokie. Right, we got some chat. It always kicks off the chat, doesn't it, right at the beginning? So Rob Cairns joining us. Might as well do these at the beginning. Good morning. Happy Monday. The best way to start the week off is This Week in WordPress. It's not starting the week, though, is it, Rob? Some of us have been up for several hours now. You know, only just saying. Michelle Frechette says, good morning from... Oh, she's getting into the weather forecast. Look at this. The overcast Rochester, New York, where the temperature is 35 degrees, 1 degree centigrade. I can win the temperature war. Today in the UK, where I am, it's -6.
Oh,
so there you go. But yes, lovely to have you, Michelle. We'll be talking about you. You're on an event that we're going to mention a bit later. We've also... Oh, Michelle, are you coming with Peter? I'll leave them to have their private chat. Good evening from the Philippines. Very cool. Thanks, O'Neill. Look at it. Everybody does the weather now. What? Peter started something off. 25 degrees. Yeah, that's cool. This is the guy that started it all off. Peter Ingersoll drops in every single week, and he just drops the weather report. Now everybody's doing it. Hello from Connecticut. 39 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees centigrade. We're expecting rain, snow, and heavy winds. Nor'easter is heading our way. Power outages are expected. Courtney's joining us. We're going to talk about you, Courtney, a bit later. Yay, Monday. North America changes clocks. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did that already?
Yeah.
It messed up my calendar invite for today.
That's
I calculated it last week, and then I was like, these don't match anymore, which is why I sent you the DM.
That's total chaos, though, because we do the same thing, right? We do this daylight saving thing, but ours is in, I think it's in like 4 weeks or something. So we'll have this 4-week period where everything's totally either truncated or, compressed. That's so... I mean, I think it's a bit of a bizarre idea, but we could at least knock our heads together and do it at the same time. It was started in the UK. I don't mean it was started in the UK. I don't know where it began. But in the UK, it was done so that farmers could go to church on Sunday in daylight. There you go. There's your fact for the week. Right, enough nonsense. Let's get on with the WordPressy stuff. Just going to share my screen. Excuse the self-promotion, but, why not? wpbuilds.com. This is our website. It looks slightly different this week. You probably can't even spot it. But I spent about 2 days last week trying to get the whole website over to blocks. Prior to that, it was on a page builder. And I decided, right, it's time. So I converted the whole site more or less page by page over to blocks. And so I have a request. If you stumble across a page which is clearly decimated, then please let me know. Go to the contact form and just tell me which page is decimated, because there will be pages. There's too many for me to keep up with. And I'd appreciate that. So this is us. If you want to subscribe, hit this form at the front and subscribe, and we'll send you 2 emails each week about the content that we produce. This is one of them, by the way. And a couple of events which are coming up this week. I've got a chat with Mark Westgard, who is the founder and developer of WS Form, We're going to be chatting on Wednesday at 4 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. He's just going to demo the product and show people what it can do. He's got some prizes lined up. So if for no other reason you want to have a go at winning some WS Form licenses, which I presume is what he's bringing, I don't know, maybe something else, who knows? But I'm guessing that's what it is. Join us for that. It'll be on the same URL as this, wpbuilds.com/live. And yet another one this week, but this is tomorrow. This is me and Peacher Neri doing our UI UX show. We do it each month, and the date for the next one is tomorrow. It's at 3 p.m. UK time. Same URL, always the same, wpbuilds.com/live. And if you fancy submitting your site, you can do it on this form. So yeah, there we go. All right, self-promotion over. Okay. Right, let's kick off. WP Roadmap. This is a really good article. It's over on wp.org/about/roadmap. And it is essentially trying to sum up what's going to be happening within the next 8 or 9 months, encapsulating 2023. It talks about the fact that we've moved over from stage 2, which was Gutenberg and full site editing, into stage 3, which is collaboration. Think Google Docs, and how that's going to be taking over the reins of all of the efforts, really. But there's quite a lot of other stuff. In terms of the CMS, there's going to be a lot of work done on the APIs, Openverse search in core. The navigation blocks are going to get some more work. Media management. Who doesn't want the media library to look slightly different? I think we can all agree on that. Simplify the release process, PHP 8.2, and one more thing. In terms of the community, trying to reinvigorate events after the pandemic. Honestly, I feel that they're like back to where they always were, in all honesty. But yep, that's the idea. Holistic contributor onboarding, refinement of polyglots tools. I'm guessing this is in preparation for phase 4 of Gutenberg, which is all going to be to do with multilingual sites, and a few other things, including more Learn materials and so on and so forth. Development of canonical plugins, which is really interesting. And then in terms of the ecosystem, WordPress Playground. This is the notion that you can run WordPress, I believe, in a browser without any need for a server, which is kind of fun. Simplify the release cycle. I don't know what this means. I don't even know what this sentence means. Create a WordPress brand discipline. What does that mean? But that's going to happen as well, and various other things. But you can see the release cycle dates here. 6.2 is just literally 15 days away. It's going to be heading to you on the 28th of March. August 6.3 mooted, and 6.4 in November. So there's an awful lot on there. I've really paraphrased it terribly. But Maestro, Mike, and Kathy, the drill here is when I finish talking, you all just interrupt each other and cross talk and all of that. So anybody who wants to go first, you go for it. What do you think of this?
I think there's a lot of great things coming down the pike, and I'm most excited about being able to collaborate right within WordPress. That's been the one thing that's kept me developing content in Google Docs, is because I am working with so many other team members here at Stellar, and I want feedback. I need to give feedback, and there's so much collaboration that has to happen. So all of that's happening in Google Docs, and then we port it over to WordPress. It would be really great to have that right within the dashboard, and then to be able to do design with blocks doing that too. Just, I feel like it's really going to change how I work with WordPress. So I'm very excited about it.
Do you collaborate in a sort of team, or do you tend to make content all by yourself and just get it published by somebody else,
Yeah. So what typically happens is we'll have content assigned out. Somebody's writing something, and then I'll jump in, give feedback, add some things. And sometimes, I mean, there've been instances where like something noteworthy or newsworthy is happening, and all right, we got to put something out about this. Everybody jump in the doc. And so there'd be like 3 people, like you write the intro, you write the conclusion, and everybody's, it's really kind of fun to see because you have all these colors going, and people are commenting right in the doc. It's almost like everybody's sort of maybe even whiteboarding together in a doc, right? So if you have to get something out really fast, we divvy up the responsibilities and create the content that way. But I could see, a lot of times it's like, like with the Kadence Amplify page you were looking at, we had a number of people working on that, but we had to wait till, somebody's working on it and we're all locked out. We can't be in there together working on it. So those types of things kind of preclude really fast development or fast content generation within WordPress. And so we've been leveraging Google Docs in order to do that kind of stuff.
It's kind of curious that until now, Google Docs for collaboration, well, actually, still now, Google Docs for collaboration is like miles ahead of WordPress. I mean, it's just absolutely miles. Just that ability to watch somebody else typing, and you can even have almost like a conversation with them. But if WordPress pull this off, maybe this is overdoing it, but I feel that the block editor will become superior to Google Docs if you can have that collaborative editing, commenting, plus all the blocks and the ability, I don't know, take a paragraph and shove it up to the top, or suddenly, without having to highlight all of it, turn that paragraph into an H2 or make that into a list or whatever it might be. I feel that it's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, Kathy, that's a great point. Maestro or Mike, anything on that?
As far as talking to collaboration, it's something that will be used by, I think, minority of users. The true publishers on WordPress. So that's the thing is, I think it's going to be a very useful tool. I don't think it's going to be used by the vast majority of WordPress sites. That doesn't mean I don't think it's worth doing, and I don't think that we can make it better. It's the content publishers, I think, will get a lot of use out of it. But SMBs and things, I don't think will mess with it a lot. But that being said, it's good to see any of the publishing writing go in a good direction. I'm more excited about the PHP 8.2 support.
Okay.
Because right now the most common PHP version is 7.4, and 7.4 is currently on security fix only.
Yeah.
And that's set to end at the end of this year. And so being able for WordPress to support 8.2, and more importantly, I think WordPress can take the lead, because historically WordPress has not taken the lead to forcing PHP support versus some of the other open source CMSs. I think that's going to pull the hosts along, because I think a lot of hosts will really drag their feet on the 7.4 to 8 jump as long as they humanly can. But if WordPress doesn't allow the PHP 7 series anymore and forces you to be on PHP 8, I think that's going to make sure a lot of hosts come along with it. It's very similar to what Joomla did back in, I think it was PHP 6 back in the day, as the first host that mandated PHP 6 before WordPress did. So I think the 8.2 support is going to be pretty good, because it's kind of scary when the most common version of PHP is technically at end of life right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really interesting contribution. Yeah, so 8.2 for you. Google Doc style editing for Kathy. Maestro, which of those pieces do you like the best?
I would say Mike has a point when it comes to the users adopting the collaboration, functionality. But I would double down with Kathy and say it's something that I've been waiting for. I'm excited for when it comes to collaborating, or when it comes to updating a page. I think it can get really annoying when you do have to figure out. So imagine, you ever been in that situation where you're getting ready to walk through a door and somebody else is with you, and you're like, oh, no, you go. No, you go. Wait, no, you go. No, you go. Oh, no, you go. And then you both go and you both get to the door. That's how it's been for me and my team when it comes like, who's going to go at what time? And then when is that person done? And then,
yeah.
So I just feel like it's just one of those situations where, yeah, it's going to be a small group of people, as Mike said. But as Kathy mentioned, it's something I've been anticipating for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's hysterical. I hadn't really given that a lot of thought, but it's the idea that you have to go to a third-party platform like a messaging app, or email, if somebody's editing a post, to say, are you finished? And usually they finish and just left the tab open. It's like, oh yeah, I'll come out. And then in you go. Yeah, that's really interesting. Or you can obviously kick them out. But yeah, okay. So the collaborative editing really gets the bit. For me, the site that I just put over to blocks, I used a classic theme So I've still got a theme with using the customizer because of the sort of navigation stuff. I just feel that the navigation block in WordPress core doesn't quite live up to what themes can, an old classic theme could do, and all the options that might live in there. And so I'm kind of curious to see how the navigation block turns out and whether I can make a header which does all of the things that I want it to do. So all of that kind of stuff is interesting. But yeah, rebooting community events, that all sounds good. And thank you to Neil. Hello, Neil. Have we met before? I'm not sure. You might be new to the show. Wasn't the brand discipline something to do with standardizing the dashboard? Oh, okay. Yeah, that rings a bell. So having notifications that look the same as all the other notifications and having guidelines. I mean, I think on the whole, most people adhere to that, but there's definitely some modeling up there, isn't there? And Peter says, I'm always interested in the numbers and how it may set priorities. To Mike's point, I'm curious how many will benefit from collaboration. I'll tell you what, if Mike's right, it'll be a lot of work. And let's hope that people start using it, because I do feel that the technical barriers to that are really, really, really challenging, especially if you're on like a super duper affordable hosting, shall we say, which probably hasn't got a lot of grunt. Yeah, we'll see. And Nomad Skateboarding, hello. I see the collaboration I see the collaboration being used by a larger number of users. So interesting disagreement there. For myself, I'll be using it to show others how to do it, working in real time to create instead of Zoom support info. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, you've got a fair little bit of time. We've got until the end of the year for all that to roll out, but some of it coming sooner than others. That was at wordpress.org/about/roadmap. Right. Time for a bit of WP drama. It's important to throw that in each week. This was I don't know where this came from. It probably came from Twitter. Don't shoot the messenger. This was an article from Themecraft, spelt with a K, so ThemeKraft. And they had an article this week called Open Letter to the WordPress Community Concerning the Plugin Review Team and Review Process. And I'll just quote the first line, which gives you a tenor of how it all goes. We feel it's time to write about our experiences with the repository of WordPress.org and also to get feedback and share experiences from others in the overall community. Blah, 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 blah. We believe something is deeply wrong inside the WordPress plugin review process and the team. And then they go on in quite a lot of detail, I might add. They really try to make the case that essentially the WordPress plugin review team can pull plugins at a moment's notice. They don't give you any warning necessarily. You have to fix the plugin for the reasons that they've highlighted. And then you've got to begin the whole review process again. So if it took you 3 weeks previously, it might take you another month to get your plugin back in the WordPress.org repo. And they make the point that, this really upsets all of our business model. Our team are sort of sitting around. They can no longer necessarily work on things. The plugin itself is not getting updated across websites. So if it's a security problem, well, everybody's stuck on the old insecure version until it's released, etc., etc., etc. And then they sort of have a go at the theme review team, not individually, not like naming names, but they post screenshots, which kind of name names. And I read through some of this, and I'm not sure that I get their point about how impolite the team were. The bits that I read, it really did feel like the theme review team were trying extremely hard to explain themselves and be as polite as possible. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting article to mention. Maybe there is something broken there. If the theme review team can literally pull the rug out from under you, and all of the SEO and everything is important to your business, that's got to be of concern. And if it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to get back up and running, then that could, I suppose, undermine your business. I don't know if any of you three had a chance to read this, but WP drama, woohoo!
Yeah, I read it pretty much in depth myself. And I would say I have a different take maybe when it comes to what I got from it as far as the dynamic between the conversation. I feel like it started off really, really warm, and then it got a little colder as the conversation progressed.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand something that wasn't mentioned when you were kind of giving the description of the reasons why it was just a financial standpoint. If they're looking to monetize their plugin or looking to feed their families, feed themselves, and this is the way that they need to do it, that that process of having to go back and forth for like minor things is really, really huge. And I think that based on them wanting to bring it up, but at the same time, the WordPress review team giving them some feedback on this is how our process is, but giving them more explanation on, hey, we're a team of two. And matter of fact, not just we're a team of two, hey, we're volunteers. And we're not just volunteers. This is a rigorous, hard process. So that's why people are kind of coming on and dropping off and coming on and dropping off, because it's not easy to handle all of this. So as I was reading, I'm getting more context behind the conversation of why maybe they're just kind of backed up and they need more help. So I think it creates a bigger problem than just this scenario that we're talking about here that I've heard in many other conversations, especially at WordCamp since they have the word. But I really hope that they, figure something out. They were trying to be as polite as possible. But at the same time, there were a little bit, the situation where you can get a little bit snappy while you're trying to be nice. Like, and
Yeah.
I started to see that, like they were getting annoyed and I can feel that pressure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm desperately trying to find this bit now where I thought it sounded, really bend over backwards polite. I can't find it now, so I'm just going to give up. Kathy, Mike, anything on this?
I have a few friends who have volunteered to be like, let me be a part of the team. Let me take some of that workload off of you. And they have not been invited to do so. That being said, I have a lot of compassion for the plugins team. 60,000 plugins is almost insurmountable amount for two people to manage. And I think the team needs to expand. A lot of what makes WordPress successful is its extensibility. It is the plugins. The plugins make WordPress. If I didn't want to put a learn and management system or e-commerce or control things and extend WordPress in the way that I wanted, and I just wanted a plain old website and I didn't care about SEO and all the other stuff, Wix, Squarespace, there's lots of people who go that route because they don't want the extensibility, but our audience wants it. And to have a plugin that you are relying on for, let's say, e-commerce or something that's like so fundamental to what you're doing with your website be kind of up in the air because it's closed by the plugins team and you have no idea what's going on, it just adds this insecurity and this unsettlement in so many people. And it's not about the plugin author, it's about the people who are using that plugin. If your plugin's closed, there's a lot of security firms and security experts will tell you you need to uninstall that until you know what's going on, just for security's sake, if you really want to keep your site secure. And think about it. Your whole site is dependent upon this one plugin that's now closed by this team. You don't know why, and your business is shut down. You can't take any commerce in. It puts people in a very precarious situation. So I'm hoping that the .org team take a look at the plugin, how those things are managed. This is not a criticism of anybody on that team. This is just, you guys need some help. It shouldn't fall all on you. And I think there needs to be a change to help the plugins team do a better job so that it is good for everybody who uses WordPress.
Yeah, I missed that piece right at the beginning, but they do mention in the article that they believe, and I'm not sure if it's truly the case, that there are only two people who are essentially given the responsibility, have the keys to the kingdom on the review team. I don't know the truth of that, but if, like you say, Kathy, people who are capable of carrying out those reviews have offered to help, and that's fallen on deaf ears, maybe that's something. Maybe that's something to look at in the future. I'd like to mention Adam. Thank you for your preciseness, shall we say? WP, the kitchen sink, 60,687 plugins to be exact. That is rather a lot to manage. And thank you for this bit of context as well. Nomad Skateboarding, the main person is retiring in a couple of weeks. Okay, so that'll be interesting. I wonder if that shakes things up a bit as well. Mike, anything to add to this, or shall we move on?
Yeah, a lot to add to it. first off, as far as people volunteering for different teams, it's not just a plugin team issue. It's hard in open source to volunteer. I don't care what CMS you're talking about, Joomla, Drupal, WordPress. It's hard to break in, especially if you don't know people. So we have a whole onboarding issue for new people, and it's gotten better over the last couple of years, but it's still pretty daunting for someone to volunteer in a team. Secondly, this article talks about that being on the plugin repository is a requirement, just like the Google App Store or the iOS, store, Google Play Store, or the iOS App Store. It's not the same. You can easily self-install by default without having to do anything different on your WordPress site to install a non-listed plugin. Unlike Android, where you have to like change a setting or jailbreak an iPhone. So it's not the same. You don't need to be listed on the plugin repo. I understand there's a lot of value to it, but the sandbox, you're playing in there. If you're a plugin dev, you're playing in their sandbox. You're playing it, and it's volunteers right now, and you have to respect that. And yeah, it might suck, it might be stressful, but there's not a lot that it is what it is, and you should try to work on ways to communicate with your customers outside of the repo and do things like that. I understand it's not easy, but it's not a requirement. You can sell your plugin just fine without being on the repo if you choose to. So, and the situation is what the situation is. I firmly believe, and I've been saying this ever since I first volunteered for the Joomla project. I think there should be, the extension directory on Joomla or the plugin repo on WordPress. I firmly believe those positions should be paid, because the only way to require people to hit service level agreements or SLAs is to pay them. But you can't force a volunteer to do 20 plugin reviews a week, or I'm just making up numbers. I'm not on this team. Unless you pay them. And then on the flip side of that, I think there should be a listing model where plugin devs need to pay a small fee to list their plugin, and you can maybe pay more if you want that review to be expedited. And it could be as low as $5 that goes to the WordPress Foundation or something to get listed, and that could help offset the cost of people doing the reviews. I understand that's probably an unpopular opinion, but the best way to have the SLA be something that's you can count on is to put money behind it. Quite frankly, it's the only way that you can make sure that those standards get hit, because it's really hard to force a volunteer to hit certain SLAs when they're a volunteer, because they're a volunteer and they're doing the best they can. So
yeah,
that's
that's really interesting, and I swear I've never even had that thought before. But I can see Kathy's head nodding up and down. Yeah, I agree that it would be a hard sell into the community, wouldn't it, with some kind of fee model? But if you pegged that number really low, 60,000 lots of $5 is still not a lot of money, but it starts to hit the kind of amount of money that would pay something towards the salaries. And that is the piece that I really like, Mike. I do like the idea of having those people paid. There's obviously some kind of agreement, how many they've got to get through, what hours they're working, and all of that kind of stuff, 40 hours a week, whatever it may be. Yeah, that could really, that's really good food for thought. Kathy, you were nodding, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's great. Yeah. I mean, I think a change needs to happen. The current model isn't working, right? And so Mike's got some really great ideas to make it work for everyone. I mean, look at Gravity Forms. They're not on the repo at all. Extremely powerful plugin, extremely powerful form. Like, you could do so much with Gravity Forms, and it's a successful business model, not on the repo, but the repo is it's so valuable for someone who's just coming into WordPress and isn't quite, because when you choose a plugin, you're like choosing, this is where I'm going to lock my business in a lot of ways, right? If you're doing WooCommerce and then all of a sudden you want to switch to another commerce plugin or something, you're locked. It's kind of hard to do that. So you're making some very important decisions, and there's so many resources on the repo that helps you understand, what other experiences are people having with this, how well is it rated, reviews, the support that happens happens, the free support that happens there. There's so going back in time and seeing like, well, what functionality changed like 3 versions ago, and being able to like go into advanced and pull that kind of information. All of that stuff is really helpful for a new user to WordPress to understand what they're getting themselves into when they choose a plugin. So I think it's worth investing in, and it's worth expanding our management of as a community.
Do you remember when Log4j, this was going back probably about a year ago or something, there's this little bit of code which was basically holding the whole internet together, and there was a vulnerability discovered, and there's just this one guy who manages it, and he's just doing it on a voluntary basis, and the whole internet was in turmoil because this guy had the keys to that code. And I think at that point people started to question, is the whole voluntary basis thing always the best solution? And in some cases I think maybe it's not. Yeah, Kathy, good point about you don't have to be on the repo. The point in the article was that that's their way in, isn't it? They SEO themselves through the WordPress.org repo, then get people to upgrade, visit their website, and so on. So for them, it's causing a real problem. But Mike, I get it. Good idea. Kathy, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, that model's worked really well for a lot of people. But like if you're starting a plugin right now, and let's say, gosh, pick a niche of WordPress. Let's pick on forms. There's so many forms plugins, right? And there's a way in. You can do a free version that's freemium, and there's upgrades or whatever. But that's not the only way. And there's so many different types of ways to build forms with WordPress now. You're not going to be able to rely on the repo itself. So to the person who wrote this article saying, well, this is the only way we'll ever be successful. Yeah, maybe 10 years ago, but I don't think anymore. I think there's so many other ways to market your software.
This image sums up what I was talking about. It's just the perfect image. So this is the entire internet, everything. And this little piece of Lego down here is Log4j. So and it goes wrong, and you can imagine what happens to everything above it. It's a bit like that with this review team, isn't it? If the review team's not working, all of this other stuff stacked on top of it, all the other bits and pieces that come along for the ride don't really work as well. There's a couple of comments on this. Thank you to Courtney. She says, GoDaddy has allocated hours from a staff member to onboard to plugin review beginning a month ago. Okay, so that's new, is it? That's that GoDaddy have allocated a member of staff in the last month, so that's a new thing. Okay, thank you for that. Thanks, Courtney. And Peter Ingersoll says, for me, this is a great example of where priorities should be considered. Millions of users, don't forget DIYers, rely on things that a few volunteers shoulder. Yeah, this is interesting. Do you know, I'm fascinated with that thought, Mike, and genuinely that's never occurred to me before. I'm going to scratch my head some more about that when we finish this. So sort of carrying this on a little bit, this is a GitHub repo that came in. I've no idea how this came across my radar this week. I feel I don't really know where to go with this. So there's a guy who's had a plugin which has been freely available on GitHub, aka you can sideload it. You don't need the repository, but he's had it there for absolutely ages, and it was a GitHub API plugin, so it enabled you to refresh your GitHub repo. The plugin could refresh and I guess suck consume stuff out of it. I'm not really sure. But this, over the last week or so, since January, he's decided that some of those features, he needs to make a bit of money from it. You know, he's got this plugin. It's been used loads and loads of times. And so the faux pas that he's made in the eyes of his users is that he's stripped out a feature which has been free forever in this plugin. And he's charged $20 a year for unlimited sites, right? And you can imagine the way the conversation goes, blah, this is outrageous. You can't possibly do this. If something was free, it should be free forever kind of thing. I mean, it was a bit more nuanced than that. But I had a little bit of a pang of sympathy for the developer in the sense that it was a bit like that Log4j image that we just saw. Well, if he can't afford to carry on developing it, then the whole thing will just collapse anyway. He's going to step away, get disinterested, stop doing it. If he gets his $20 a year from each of you, maybe he'll be able to carry on and perhaps even increase it. So I don't know. This is such a dilemma. Do you pay for things? Do you not? Is it allowed to take out features from people who are using things already? The GitHub repo is under the name of, well, you can see it there. It's Afrogen, and his plugin is called Git Updater. And you can see the thread. But yeah, I was really torn. I thought to myself, okay, if he was charging $1,000, then all my sympathy sort of starts to evaporate. But it feels that at $20 for unlimited sites a year, that really puts me on the side of, yeah, I got your back. I have a lot of sympathy for you. Yeah.
So this is Andy. So Andy's a good friend of
Yeah.
So click his name and click sponsor for me. Yeah, the sponsor. The
here.
No. Yeah, there you go.
You go.
He only has 7 current sponsors, and he's only had 6 current sponsors in the past. This is your issue. We in open source keep thinking it's free as in beer. I am so sick of open source people thinking that open source means free as in monetary. That's not a requirement to be open source. It's just an option that a lot of people take. Plus, because it's open source, if you really cared that much, you could pay the $20 and get the full code base and fork it. You're just not allowed to use any thing that's not covered under the license, such as CSS or brand name trademarks. But yeah, I get so sick of open source people thinking everything should be free.
Wait, hang on. I've just read his bio. It says, "Hi, I'm Andy Fragan." I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm a trauma acute care surgeon. What?
Yeah, he's a surgeon in Southern California.
No, that's so great. He just does this in his spare time. He's a surgeon. That's brilliant. I'm so pleased I read that. That's so good. And you guys know him, do you?
Yeah.
That's
he's
even
very
better.
active in the Southern California / Arizona community over there. So he'll probably be at WordCamp Phoenix.
So I didn't realize.
He's an amazing person.
Yeah, okay. This is wonderful because I didn't realize complete full disclosure. I didn't know that you knew him at all. But it kind of makes me feel good because I was kind of going a bit liberal on this, sort of sitting on the fence, understanding it from one side, understanding it from the other. Now that you've given me some context, I see that he's like this surgeon. He's given his life over to help trauma patients. It does kind of feel like he's bending over backwards, $20 a year, and as Mike says, okay, if you pay the $20, fork it, it's yours. You can do what you like with it, so long as you give the proper accreditation. This is such an interesting debate.
And then you can make it free.
Yeah. That's a good point. But the bit that people were trying to say, and they were getting a bit antsy about it, was you're taking away something that we've used forever, and all of that. And it's his product, I guess. He can do what he likes with it. But it's a thorny debate. Sorry, Maestro. I feel like we've just hijacked the whole conversation, and you've not had a chance to speak. If you've got anything on this, please butt in now.
No, I agree with everything Mike was saying. Unlike Kathy and Mike, I don't really know him at all. But to the sentiments of your point, yeah, definitely think that after you put a lot of time and effort into this, $20, in my opinion, I know it's controversial. I know it is. I mean, yeah, I know it is. Like, right, $2 is controversial these days for when you're expecting free. It's just weird. But that whole notion, I think it goes back to just being able to it's like you have to work. Like you can't be a volunteer if you don't already have, unless you're retired and you have some income coming in. It's very hard to either be a volunteer or to do something for free when you don't have income coming in. So fortunately, I mean, yeah, he's a surgeon. That's a beautiful thing, right? I'm assuming he's not making a little bit of money. I'm assuming he's making a decent amount of some cash here in order to be able to do what he's doing. However, I think it could go two sides, because now that it's been exposed of, I'm not sure if people are actually going to his page, like what Mike did, right? But I can see some people using that against him too. Oh, well, you're well off making all this money. Why do you have to be free, right? That's how we work sometimes in the world, right? Oh, you're already good. Why do you need more money for this? So I can see that being used against him in some ways, but at the same time, I completely agree with the fact that $120 is not a lot. He's been doing this for free for a long time. I get how people feel when it comes to having a gated access when it's time to pay, and they've been getting it for free for a long time, because it's like, once you've been used to what you've been using. You don't want to, you don't want to have to adopt the changes. But Kathy and Mike made both great points. I feel bad for the dude now that I see more information about it. People are complaining, but I think
to be fair, the complaints never got into like personal abuse or anything. There was none of that. But it did stray into there was some language used in there, which was kind of maybe stepping over some lines. But honestly, I have so much respect for somebody who A, is a surgeon, and B, finds time in the evening, presumably, to just sort of throw a plugin together and, have a completely different career. Bravo, Andy Fragan. That's just amazing. And yeah.
But if he had 100 sponsors, he probably wouldn't have started charging for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And it goes back to give back to the code you're using. I've always recommended for years for agencies, add an optional 10% line on all your invoices for open source contributions.
Oh, I love it.
Never anyone I've recommended this to, and I've known dozens, if not hundreds, of people that have done this. I've never had anyone that's had a client balk told me that a client's asked them to take that off. And then you can use that to contribute to WordPress, to contribute to the plugins, to the developers. We also need to look past WordPress. There's the rest of the LAMP stack: Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. Donate to those. Everyone loves the classic editor, but how many people have gotten a subscription to TinyMCE, which is what the classic editor is built on?
Yeah.
So put your money where your mouth is.
Just run that by me one more time. So you're saying that if you've like got a bunch of clients, when you bill them, add a line item at the bottom, a 10% line item.
Yeah,
so
okay. Open source fee, because you can say you're saving all this money by not doing a proprietary or doing this from scratch. We can take it off if you want, blah, blah, blah. I know dozens and dozens of people who do this that they've never had a client balk at it ever.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I love it.
We're going to talk about the WP Community Collective a little bit later, and they've got this financial model. Yeah, I guess at some point we've got to figure out where that money goes and who looks after it and all of that kind of stuff. But I guess if you're a freelancer or an agency or something, you can make that decision for yourself. Pick the WordPress projects. Pick Andy. Do Andy. Give Andy loads of cash. So let's give him another shout out. So he is at github.com/Fragen, AFRAGEN. You can see it on the screen, but for those that are listening, check out that.
He's active on Post Status too, so you can find him there.
Oh, this is well. I'm so pleased that story came out. That's really interesting. I thought he handled it really well, and yeah, $20. Throw the bone, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Right, there's a few comments surrounding that. I don't want to miss anything.
Courtney's comment's really good about how Andy helped her.
Oh, great. Lovely. Thanks, Courtney. Andy sat with me at WCUS and helped me put Core Trunk on my laptop. I've struggled with that for a decade to contribute to the core team. Oh, I'm liking Andy more and more. Get Andy on this show. Andy, the other Andy from WP Kitchen, saying, he says Andy is amazing. I presume you're talking about the Andy that we're talking about, not yourself. Working with open source software. This comes from Eat Paint Studio. Excellent name. Working with open source software to earn a living. It's our social responsibility to enable the developers we rely on to support themselves. Oh, it's Emily. Thank you, Emily, from Chicago. Mike, you've hit a vein here. Everybody's in agreement. It's definitely nobody's arguing.
Nathan,
and yeah, it's a subject that's taboo, right? This one is really taboo. Yeah.
Nathan, if you do get Andy on the show, I've been trying to get him to do a live stream of VR Surgeon Simulator for a fundraiser. So maybe you can. He's got a
piece of software called VR Surgeon Simulator.
No, it's a game. It's a game you can get called Surgeon Simulator, and I want him to play it on a live stream for like Big Orange Heart or something, because I think that would be funny.
Oh, nice.
I haven't gotten him to agree to it though, but maybe you can push him over.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if we can dial that one in. That'd be great.
Yeah.
WP, I'll just say Andy, the other Andy, the Andy in the chat. It's the tragedy of the commons. Yeah, the tragedy of the commons refers to the situation in which individuals with access to a public resource, also a common, act in their own interest, and in doing so ultimately deplete the resource. This economic theory was first conceptualized in 1833. This is great. We're getting a history lesson by British writer William Forster Lloyd. Wow, that was such an interesting chat. Thank you. Thanks for all of that. I didn't know where that was going to go, but it went in the right direction. I'm pleased by that. Okay, so we all know the state of tech at the minute. If you're working in, oh my goodness, I mean, the news about Silicon Valley and the banking system this week seems to have hit even this side of the pond. Layoffs have happened. I don't know if people are becoming more and more confident, but certainly layoffs have happened in the WordPress space as well as elsewhere. Michelle Frechette, who's in the chat, or at least she was, has put together an article on Post Status where she outlines some WordPress layoff resources. So she's linked to a variety, 7 different job boards and job links, help with creating a resume, some areas where you can go and find help to search out jobs, networking opportunities, articles on how to make use of LinkedIn. If you're like me, LinkedIn is just I don't even begin to understand how that works. And also things like your mental health, and Mike just mentioned top of the list there, big orange heart, amongst some others. And I mean, hopefully all of you guys have got secure jobs. But Michelle, thank you for putting this resource out there. Mike's obviously from Codable. Mike, I'm just wondering if there's been a bit of an uptick in people coming your way, looking to have a different, alternative, new revenue stream?
Yeah, well, Codable, we've actually shut off applications 2 months ago. So because we accept about 2.8% of everyone that applies to us. There's a waiting list. So you can go to codable.io/apply and put your name on the waiting list, and then you'll be first when it reopens. But we accept about 2.9% of everyone that goes through our vetting. But we also, our goal is to make sure that we only onboard enough people that can work as much as they want to work. So we don't want to have not enough devs to not enough. So we're still growing. We're good, we're still getting lots of new clients, but at a different pace than we were over the last few years, right? So we're just making sure that we have enough work for our current batch of experts before we open it up. But we do have a waiting list. We have a lot of people who are very interested. In addition to those job boards, I would recommend the niche boards. Product Hunt is a great board to apply on. Hardly anyone applies off a Product Hunt, so it's a great way to get your resume seen. Same with We Work Remotely is also a board, but Smashing Magazine, Power to Fly, HackerX, Woman Hack. So niche down as much as you can on boards. And if you're looking to hire, I can't say enough good things about hiring on Product Hunt. Product Hunt only has a couple dozen job posts at any one time, so you get so much attention versus some of the other big boards out there. So that's what I always kind of recommend. General Assembly, we posted in the Post Status newsletter on Friday, just posted a state of hiring recruiting report last week, and there's a lot of interesting insights in there. One of which is that diversity is not getting much better over these last few years because policies, are wiping away any diversity sourcing that people are attempting to do. So I recommend checking out the General Assembly recruiting report that came out last week.
Mike, if you've got the time, would you mind dropping, if you can find them, dropping the links to both of those in our little private chat thing, and I'll be sure to put them into the matching show notes. But
General Assembly and what?
What was the other one? Is it just product.com and then is there like a /job board or something like that?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I don't think there's probably not a lot of commentary around that one, but thank you, Michelle. That's much appreciated. You can find that on poststatus.com. The piece is called, if you're looking at the screen, you can see it, WordPress Layoffs, Some Resources. So yeah, thank you for doing that. Okay, I did a podcast episode on the WP Tavern this week with Say Reed and Courtney Robertson, who is in the comments. It was all about the WP Community Collective. We were talking about getting contributors paid. This is a really interesting initiative. It's like a double-fronted marketplace in a sense. WP Community Collective are hoping to stand in between people who've got money to sponsor but don't know where to sponsor, and people who want to sponsor but don't have the capacity to sponsor. So the money flows through the WP Community Collective, and they have these I want to say fellowships. I'm not sure if I've used the right word there. We talked about this last week, but the idea is they're going to create fellowships for a particular thing. So the accessibility fellowship is the first one up. It's not fully funded yet, or at least it wasn't last week. But the idea being that somebody will fulfill that role, and then any company that have got a little bit of money that they want to contribute into the project can do that. And you send it straight to the WP Community Collective, and then they forward it onto that project. And in that way, hopefully, there'll be this constant flow of money going in one direction and making its way out to the people who need it. Because, well, there's a lot of people out there who would love to contribute, have the skills to contribute, but as we said, they don't have the finance to contribute. So interesting initiative. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that. We did mention it a bit last week, but the podcast aired this week, so I thought I'd mention it. Feel free to jump in now, Maestro, or anybody, any of you.
Yeah, I think it's so I'm noticing a pattern and trend during this conversation. Everything we've been talking about has been associated with some type of money or the need of funding, right? Every single subject we've talked about, right? So I think I didn't want to go too ahead of ourselves, but I wanted to, on our first conversation, to say, hey, we're going to get into a potential way that would help resolve some of those issues within this particular topic right here. It's something else I've noticed a pattern when I watch the State of the Words or WordCamp. When they're asking Matt, at the end, ask Matt. I always watch those because I want to see how he's going to respond to certain questions. And every year, I see people asking about, how they can get more help financially with contributing, and especially with this last one, WordCamp Asia. I saw a lot of information on that as well, in asking the questions. So it's kind of interesting that it's, and again, I don't know what we aren't allowed to say or the situations, but I just see that there is some kind of disconnect between the direction of the, as Mike already alluded to, open source versus people contributing and wanting to volunteer or wanting to give help or wanting to do things, but they just don't have that incentive financially, especially with all the layoffs. So I just think it's something that's very important. But I love what they're doing. I read the article. I didn't listen to the entire podcast, but I did check out some of the examples that they said that they were attributing these funds to and things that they were not attributing the funds to. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the idea is to create these fellowships for something. So it's not just random. There are things which, and they're bound to WordPress.org initiatives. So it's not just anything. So anyway, if you go to the WP Community Collective, I believe that's right, or you can go to the Open Collective. I'll put the links in the show notes. You can see the current state of funding, and it's not got there yet. So apropos of everything we've been talking about today, I think this is a good way to put your money into an open source if you don't know where you wish it to go. I've got to say sorry to Adam, who's in fact not called Andy. Sorry about that, but yeah, but somehow my name's got messed up as well. Look, it says on the screen now I'm called Natalie, so I don't really know what's going on today. So anyway, sorry, Adam. I've met Adam as well, and I've got no excuse. Courtney says, let's fund contributors. Too right. That's been the strain of what we've been talking about today. Cultivating where... does that say cumulatively, do you think? Cumulatively, cumulatively, we're halfway to the goal of funding Alex Stein for 6 months' work at 5 hours a week. Okay, so they need... I can't forget what the goal was, but it was several $1,000s. It wasn't a gigantic amount of money. Automatic just provided $2,000. Hey, nice, thank you. Most of the income was from individual contributors. The general fund can be reallocated to the accessibility fund as well. Oh, okay. So if you go to WP Community Collective and you allocate it to a pot, it can be siphoned off elsewhere if you wish. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Audrey, for saying it's all good. I'm just going to use any name beginning with A now, just because it's funny. So Audrey, it is. Cumulatively, yes, thank you. All right, let's go on to the next piece. Unless either of you two had anything you want to say about that. Apologies, Kathy.
I think it's awesome. That's it.
Yeah. Go and listen to the podcast episode. Courtney and Say explain it really, really well. Although we had lots of hiccups with the audio, and it was a mighty editing task. Just put it that way. If you are a main WP user and you are a Jetpack user, this might be of interest to you. So it's kind of plug-in sort of stuff. This piece, main WP have integrated Jetpack Security, so Jetpack Protect and Jetpack Scan. Inside their interface. I've actually found the Jetpack article. Usually when main WP update things, I'm showing the main WP article, but this is on the Jetpack website. And now you can do that. You can do all that scanning goodness inside your your main WP interface. There's not really a lot to say about that, so I'll just drop that in and quickly move on. All right, so this is interesting as well. Talking about plugins, let's move on to themes. When WordPress 6 came out, it came out with the 2023 theme, and it had this really interesting innovation in it where instead of it being almost like one theme, you had a whole load of different variations. And if memory serves, they were called style variations. Yes, there it is on the screen. It came with 10 style variations. No, it didn't. I can't remember. It came with several, right? A handful of style variations. They excluded some. They just cherry-picked the best ones. But there's been a suggestion mooted recently that why don't we sort of carry this idea on? And so Sarah Gooding writes a piece called WordPress Themes Team proposes Community Themes Initiative. And I'll just quote it because it's the easiest way. Representatives of the WordPress Themes team are looking to carry forward the momentum contributors found in creating the 2020 theme style variations. Automatic sponsored core contributor Maggie Cabrera published a proposal that seeks to extend this new era of increased design contributions through a community themes project. The goal is to bring together a squad of people to build block themes all year round with the same default, in the same way that default themes are built. So rather than just having this one big release, 2023, 2024, whatever it may be, just this ongoing sort of cycle. I think it's largely born out of the fact that it's turned into a little bit of a damp squib. We were hoping to have 500 block-based themes in the repository by now. We haven't quite hit half that number at the time this article went out, 247. So maybe it's a way of drumming up support for that. I said, when I was talking about redesigning the WP Builds website, I'd stayed away from a block-based theme just because of the limited things that I could do with headers and so on and so forth. So I can sort of see why this initiative might be needed. So that's what that is. Anybody interested in this? I guess if you're running an agency, this might be of interest to you. No,
Maestro.
I'm with Nathan, and I almost got me. The Natalie almost got. Like, oh no! Don't do it.
I'm going to change that any moment now to something else.
Yeah, to your point, I don't really use block-based themes, but I do think that it's something that it's a good idea. I mean, it's going to be interesting, as you mentioned, it being done year around. It's I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain because I'm a little biased. Kathy would know, like I use the Kadence theme, so I'm a little biased. Okay, but I do think that it's something that, because Gutenberg and the editor is extending so much, and full site editing, I mean, it's here, it's expanding, and people want to. I think people are more curious more than anything, because it's just like, okay, we add another 250, like we're at 250. Man, we didn't make that 500. Okay, how people are using 200? It's like who's actually using, and then how much more do they want out of new types of themes, or is it just one of those things where you just want quantity? You know, are we going after quantity? Are we going after quality? Are we going after just options? Is that what we just want more?
Yeah, for me, it's totally options. It was the lack of options, right? It was just the fact that in a theme that I'm quite familiar with and comfortable with, I've just got this muscle memory. I know where all the options are, and I know that it can do this by clicking a button, whereas in the block editor, less options.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So anyway, there we go. Right, that was WP Tavern. WordPress team proposes Community Themes Initiative. Right, in the spirit of changing names, I think all of us should change our name. I am now officially called Dennis Wonky. And Anybody wants to join me on this adventure, feel free. There's always something stupid in this show. I don't know quite how it always creeps in, but it always creeps in. And I blame Alexander, the guy that started all this a minute ago. Right, Jetpack. Okay, this is my weekly Mastodon tirade. There's quite a few bits and pieces in here. Gotta love the Mastodon. We're now at nearly 10 million users. I've got a feeling Mike is not going to be enjoying this next section. Were you just shaking your head with the word Mastodon there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm so sick of Mastodon and the billion new social networks. Talk to me in 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Okay, yeah, when it's actually got some impact.
When this all shakes out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I was talking to an influencer marketing company, and Twitter is kind of on sale right now for ads, because it's such a weird marketplace. So there's definitely opportunities to be had in everything. So Mastodon's fine. I have a Mastodon account, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to where Twitter was. Enjoy it. Have fun.
Yeah, well, I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's quite interesting. Good. So I'll just quickly go through these things. If you have made that leap and you are putting some time into that, it may be of interest for you to know that Jetpack, if you've got that installed and are running it on your website, Jetpack 11.9 adds a social sharing button for Mastodon. So, you've got at the bottom of the post, you've got all the Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And curiously, Pocket and Skype. Skype is still in there. Anybody raise your hand if you're using Skype? Beulah. So it's still there, but they've added Mastodon. So you just click a button, and now when you click on that, you're asked to fill in the details of what Mastodon server you're using, and you can share that. Also, another Mastodon tool, if you're interested in turning Mastodon into a source where you can automatically post things. This is quite nice. You can point your RSS feed from your WordPress website at this tool. It's called mastofeed.org. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you pollute Mastodon, but, if you're producing a piece of content and you're having to manually go over there, because a lot of these automatically publishing tools haven't caught up yet. Jetpack apparently is thinking about doing this. Go to Mastofeed, put in your RSS feed, and it should cross-post. Presumably it's taking the featured image, title, excerpt. I don't really know, but mastofeed.org. And also, a friend of mine, Daniel, he did Toot of the Word survey. Toot is the word which can be substituted for tweet, so Mike, this will be of interest to you, actually, because he wanted to know actually what a WordPress is doing on Mastodon. And he had some good results. I mean, the survey was reasonably small. It was only 200 plus. I think it was 203 or 204 people. Mentioned it, but essentially they're thinking that the WordPress community on Mastodon is becoming a bit more stable. I've definitely discovered that the WordPress hashtag on Mastodon for me now generates really great results. I've added it in as a search, like on TweetDeck where you can have one column which is just a hashtag. I've got that with WordPress, and it just constantly delivers me what I need to know. A lot of the stuff from today will have come through there. The majority of the participants find that WordPress is an important part. That Mastodon is increasingly becoming an important part of their social activity. Nearly all the participants suggest that it will become more so in the future. And also, quite interestingly, a lot of the people seem to be picking out WordPress-specific instances. So unlike Twitter, where you go to twitter.com and that's it, with Mastodon, you have to pick an instance to set your account up with. I've actually got one. It's here. It's at wpbuilds.social. Feel free. It's open and you can come and join. But a lot of people seem to like the idea of that, because you can search, you can set it up so that it only shows things from that particular instance. And we've got a few people over there posting. And so more Mastodon stuff. So we, so as a segue, see how long Twitter goes. This week, or last week, in fact, apparently a Twitter engineer brought down Twitter last Monday. He was playing with the API, and he's now the only person who's in charge of now. What is it? He's the only engineer who's essentially got oversight over whether things should be committed in his sphere of influence. He committed things, lots of things started to break. And Mike, this is the bit that's getting me worried, right? I know that Twitter's better, bigger, more fully featured. But seriously, does this sort of stuff worry you, where a single engineer can take down Twitter for a period of time?
Twitter's a cluster right now. I'm not saying Twitter is perfectly safe and the best thing of all time. It's not. And, Musk's ownership hasn't helped things. Especially with, he just did another round of layoffs with a bunch of managers that he asked managers. He sent an email and asked managers to nominate who their direct reports would be good for possible promotions in the future. And almost everyone that was recommended got promoted to the manager's job. And then the nominating manager got fired. So that was
that's hideous.
Week. So yeah, Twitter's not great right now. But that being said, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Mastodon's going to be all end all. There's a billion things going on, a billion social networks right now. Things are going to come, go, get bought out. The Twitter in 2 years from now might be the same. It might be way worse. It might be dead. Mastodon might be the most popular. I don't think it will be because of the individual little small groups that makes it good for some things, but not good for other things. So, I'm going to hold on to Twitter as long as I can, just because I've created it for well over a decade.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that it's in a good spot. I don't think it's in a good spot. I think I'm guessing Elon Musk is trying to make it as cheap as possible, cut the cost down as much as possible, potentially get the revenue up somehow, and then just sell it, or just take a big loss on it for tax reasons. No, it's not in a good spot right now, but I also don't think I read every week. Product Hunt has 5 to 10 new social networks every week. I've covered some of them on Post Status, and I'm just kind of sick of the new Twitter killer coming out every couple of weeks. But Mastodon's cool. So,
did you see? What's it called? Right. Did you see this week the ActivityPub plugin? I didn't include this for some reason. I just thought there was like maximum amounts of Mastodon already. But ActivityPub is the protocol which Mastodon is built on top of. So basically, it's a skin for ActivityPub. So if you go to all of these other similar things like PixelFed, they're using the exact same underlying protocol. It's ActivityPub. Look who just started to commit to the ActivityPub plugin on WordPress. Those people. So I think they're starting to take this a little bit more seriously. This plugin's been around for a while. Essentially, it turns your WordPress website into an instance of ActivityPub, aka Mastodon. And so Automatic are now officially fronting up not only, but along with Matthias, I can't say that name, Pfefferi, sorry, Matthias. They've decided to inject their efforts into that. So that gives me some kind of pause for thought. Look, there you go. Picture of WordPress next to a picture of see, no tweet bird there, is there, on that picture? Right. Okay. Anything to do with that, Kathy, or anything to do with that, Maestro? Anything, or should we just quickly move on to more WordPressy stuff? Let's move on. Right. A few events, because this stuff matters. Phoenix WordCamp is happening, good grief, in the next few days, really. March 24th to the 25th. Let's just scroll a little bit here. Oh, look at that. Look, there's a name right at the top. Day 1. Kicking it off, Kathy Zant. Passwords are broken. Passkeys are coming to save us. How long has this one been in the making? Are you pleased to be speaking here? It looks like a pretty full-on event, in all honesty.
Yeah, there's people coming from all over the world, and some of the topics, most of the topics are pretty future focused. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff happening lots of great speakers. So I definitely wanted to highlight this. And anybody who's going to be there, I'm going to be there. Come find me. Kadence is sponsoring, so we'll have a little booth where you can come hang out with me and get some Kadence swag.
Has it typically been quite a big event in terms of obviously there's a lot of people speaking,
Yeah.
but in terms of the number of people showing up, it's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
In terms of
okay.
all the WordCamps that I've been to, like Miami's massive. It's just people come from all over the place. It's usually timed very well in the springtime when people are like, "Hey, get me out of the snow." And then Phoenix as well. There's tons of people coming because they also have like the Cactus League baseball happening in Phoenix at that time too. So a lot of people are like WordCamp and nice weather and baseball, and so it
Yeah,
attracts a
okay.
lot of people.
Yeah, you've totally you've got the formula just right there, haven't you? Good weather, sport, WordPress, nice. So here we are. We're looking at the phoenix.wordcamp.org page /2023 /schedule. I haven't looked into the state of tickets or anything like that, but yeah, Kathy's kicking it off, and then there's a whole laundry list. So it looks like there's about 10 people on each track each day, of which there are 2 tracks, one called Full Court, one called Fast Break. And yeah, loads and loads going on. So go check that out. Another event going on. Look at this one. Look, this is the Kadence Amplify. Is this new? I do apologize if you've running this for a second or third time, but this is
It's
look,
brand new.
brand new.
And I used AI to come up with the title. It didn't
Did
come up
you?
with it. It took 30 times. And then I was like, ooh, Amplify. That's kind of interesting. And then I played with that for a while. So it's an AI chosen title. Little
Yeah.
trivia there for you. But
Okay.
yeah, we put it out there's so many people in the Kadence community who are really active. Maestro being one of them, because he's helping us kick this off. So it very, very exciting, cool people coming to share their knowledge about everything from funnels to SEO to accessibility to CRMs. We've got Michelle speaking about podcasting. So we've got tons of cool people going to be at this event on Thursday, and it's going to be on YouTube, 2 tracks, so you can bounce between the 2 different tracks and kind of be a fun event. I'm excited.
Look at this. Peter Ingersoll's happening at the same time. I don't believe he's talking about building a slide presentation in Cadence. I think he's going to be talking about the weather. We all know that's what he does. So yeah, Peter, like you're going to be talking about Cadence. Firstly, a couple of things. Congratulations. I know how much work goes into these kind of events, and it's not easy. There's a lot that goes on in the background. Secondly, cool website. I like the way you've laid it out. I'm not making a comparison, but I do think it's an interesting comparison. There's the Phoenix one, and I think yours is. I think there's just something about it. It just stands out. It's really, really nice. So the obvious question, I know more or less everybody's going to ask it. Do I need to be into blocks and Kadence to show up to this event? I know you've just sort of highlighted that, but would it be a good idea if I was a Kadence subscriber already? Will I get more out of it if I am?
Not necessarily, because we're going to be talking about everything from, I mean, obviously I firmly believe that blocks and Gutenberg and building within native WordPress is better for the web and better for your site. But we'll be talking about all kinds of things from performance, SEO. So you don't need to be into Kadence. We're going to have a security talk. Robert Rowley from PatchStack, who just came out with that really great
State of WordPress security, yeah.
Yes. So he's going to be talking about that and how, all of their findings and what that means. So this is really about WordPress, but what's Kadence? Like, we're helping you get more out of WordPress, more out of the web. And so we just, I wanted to put this event on, first of all, just because there's so many knowledgeable people within the Kadence community, and I wanted to highlight them, but also I want people to be more successful with the web. And so I kind of worked. A lot of people pitch talks. There's a lot of pitch talks here, but there's a lot of people I'm like, this person, I know they know their stuff. They're really awesome. And I reached out and basically curated a few of these talks. So yeah, I just want people to be successful. It's all free. It's going to be on YouTube. It'll be recorded, so you can just go find it if you can't make it on Thursday.
Nice.
But it's so much fun to come to a live event. Look at everybody in your in the chat here. They just add so much color, so it's so
Oh
much fun to
yes,
come
yeah,
live.
indeed, yeah, it's great. And speaking of which, Max, hi Max, saying he's looking forward to it. Courtney is saying, "Look, there's Peter. Yes, there's Peter. Maestro. Oh, that's a nice comment, Maestro. I'll make your day. Maestro is one of my favorite presenters on WordPress TV. That's cool. What a nice thing to say. And then Peter says, I bow to the I bow to the Maestro,
Oh, you
who is
Peter.
speaking at the same time than I am." There's a little bit of a rivalry going on there. Look at that, Peter and Maestro at the same time. Maestro, are you excited about this? Are you ready? Have you got everything prepped?
Absolutely. I've honestly, to me, this has been a long time coming, and I think Kathy and Ben and Hannah have done a great job. I have some, I've been a guest on their podcast in the past, so I've gotten to know them a little bit more intimately, which is really cool. Kathy has been somewhat of or Vicky has been somewhat of
Oh, does she? Oh, yeah, look.
a role model. You didn't think I was going to see that, Kathy, huh? But yeah, she's definitely been somewhat of a mentor in some ways. And shout outs to Michelle Frechette as well too. She's the reason why I'm here, and she's actually put me on some opportunities. So I like to pay homage when homage is due, whenever I can have an opportunity. But this event I've been waiting for, and I didn't know it was going to happen. So I've been waiting for this for a while. I think it's right on time. The fact that they've put it on so fast. I don't know how long it's been in the works for planning wise, but you all did a great job putting everything together, making it look nice and professional. And then going back to your point, Nathan / Dennis the Menace, when it comes to, I had to go there. When it comes to the look and style, I've noticed that pattern on a lot of WordCamp, or Word even meetups. When it comes to their styling of their page, I've noticed that style is like the new standard. So I'm not sure if they're doing that intentionally or not, but I've just noticed.
All WordCamps
They're all locked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all locked in. You can't even install any plugins, so it's locked into this multi-site. So it's very formulaic in terms of how that all works. But
Gotta say,
it's also very interesting to work with, having been in there and like having to pull people out and
yeah.
yeah.
I'm loving.
So it's not really fair for
right.
Dennis to call out Phoenix because they're very limited in their options.
I do apologize. Yes, you are. And I didn't know that. So yes, thank you. I stand corrected and I humbly apologize. But yeah, there is no comparison. But I do like yours, Kathy. I think your one looks really good.
Can I just say the way we like workflowed. So marketing, me, I put together this page and then I just handed it over to the designer who was then just tweaked it and made it look so much better. So I basically put the content in and they knew what all that, there was no like Figma. It was like all done right within WordPress with Kadence blocks. And it was a really nice workflow because they knew exactly what they were dealing with. There was no like content coming in afterwards. They had the page all laid out there and they made it look the way they wanted it to look. So a huge shout out to Sailor on the Kadence team who did this for us. She did a great job.
Bravo. I'm going to have to move it on. But yeah, so please go check it out. cadencewp.com do you know what? I'll post it in the show notes. But if you just Google Kadence Amplify, I'm sure that you will get where you need to go. Starting on the Thursday, March the 16th. And there's 2 tracks going on all day long, finishing off with Ben Rittner doing what I've now entitled the State of the Blocks. And I'm going to go and get the domain stateoftheblocks.com very quickly. Okay, from one event to the other, Phoenix, Amplify, now on to Cloudfest. Mike, perhaps would it be easier to just hand this one over to you? Tell us why we're talking about Cloudfest.
So if you want to do the hackathon first, because that's before the main event.
20th, is that here?
It's the other tab. I thought you had 2 tabs open. One.
Oh, I do. 1 second. That one. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So Cloudfest is the second version of World Hosting Days, WHD, if you remember that. It's the world's largest cloud infrastructure conference, although there are a lot more than infrastructure. So We'll have a big team there. Codable, we'll have about 20 of our devs there. So the hackathon, which we're a sponsor of, if you want to scroll down to the sponsors, lots of WordPress companies are sponsor for the hackathon, is this weekend. I think over 150 developers are doing a bunch of different projects. But like Automatic's a sponsor, Codable's a sponsor, Google, Inside, Post Status, Web Pros, Yoast, XWP. So it's kind of it's the largest unknown WordPressy conference out there. So this the hackathon starts on Saturday, ends on Monday. We'll be there. We'll be launching 2 new products actually from Codable at Cloudfest next week, which we're super excited about. And then if you flip over to the main conference, which is the slide you were on, this goes from the 20th through the 23rd. So Monday, the 20th, is actually WordPress Day. So it's all WordPress talks by lots of people we know and love. And then later in the week, I think Thursday, possibly, Josepa is giving a keynote later in the week, and there's hundreds of speakers. It's a great conference. They have over 10,000, almost 10,000 registrations right now. It's in Rust, Germany, which is one of the smallest villages you'll ever know. But it's actually at a theme park, and the rides are open during the conference just for the attendees. So,
the temptation.
I did put a link. I did share with you a free coupon code. There's lots of free coupon codes for Cloudfest, but you can use this coupon code on your screen for a free ticket that's valued at 399 euros. I recommend going. It's a great event. I've gone for 7-8 years, and it's gone through a lot of iterations, a lot of people. GoDaddy, I think year during 2020 sold it off back to the original founders of Cloudfest, because GoDaddy used to own it because it used to be owned by Host Europe, and then GoDaddy bought Host Europe, and then I think 2020 hit, and then they sold it back to the original founders. So it's gone through a bunch of iterations, but it's a great event. And Cloudfest USA is back, actually. So if you go to cloudfest.com/USA at the end of April in Austin, Texas, for the first time in like 5 years, Cloudfest is coming back to the USA as well. So if you can't make the Germany one, definitely check out the one in Austin at the end of April to early June, right before WordCamp Europe. So it's a great event. I highly recommend people go. And they also stream a lot of the talks on the YouTube station and Facebook Live and stuff like that too.
Mike, first of all, thank you. I honestly, this one just totally gets under my radar every time, and so thanks for the explainer on. Well, I didn't realize there was a European one and a USA one. I will put all the links to the show notes, including Mike's coupon code, which is gonna. Did you say free, like from 399 or something?
Yeah. So it'll save you 399 euros off your ticket, which makes your main ticket free, or is almost half off a VIP ticket. So
that is absolutely phenomenal. So I'll be sure to put that into the show notes that follow on from this, or you can just hit me up and I'll have written it down somewhere and made a note of it. So that's wow. So Cloudfest definitely happening March the 20th, or there's the hackathon. What was the date for that? Was that the date before? Was that the 18th, 19th?
So I mean, the 18th through the 23rd is the whole event. Right. You know, if you can include the hackathon. So I'll be leaving on Thursday and coming back next Saturday.
Nice.
And because of that, I will not be going to WordCamp Phoenix. There are people who are doing both, but I couldn't leave a day early from Cloudfest because of the things we have to do business-wise, and I really didn't want to do a red eye on Friday night and then going straight into WordCamp Phoenix.
Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. So yeah.
I had to skip WordCamp,
loads going on in the WordPress space this week. This is incredible. This is a super busy week. Right, we're very, very much running out of time. Let me just quickly flick through, because I don't want to hold the guests. I know Mike's on a bit of a tight schedule. We were going to talk about Signal. I apologize, Maestro. I don't know. Do you think we can do your YouTube video in under a minute, or do we wait for that for another time?
Maybe we can wait. It wasn't the whole. It was just a little clip part that guest speaker was mentioning, but it was basically iterating. I think what Mike had already mentioned back in the chat when it came, not the chat, excuse me, but mentioned earlier about diversity. And it was a question of WordPress having a marketing issue. I thought that was very interesting. It was back in, I think, WordCamp US 2022. And it was a question asked about just WordPress having a marketing problem. And it was also attributed to the whole diversity, inclusion, and accessibility aspect of things, just getting more people aware who are in disadvantaged scenarios. And me being a minority myself, I'm just striving to do as much representation as far as bring awareness to this topic because Mike already said it. It's still a huge issue. It's still a really big issue for a lot of folks. So I just thought it was an interesting point that it was mentioned at that particular WordCamp.
I'm really sorry that the time got away with us. We obviously got tied up with all sorts of different topics. What I will say is that I will post the link that Maestro has posted to me. It's a YouTube link, and it's from WordCamp US in conversation with Matt Mullenweg on stage, and it's an interesting question. I will link to it in the show notes, and possibly if I can persuade you to come back on this show another time, we'll bump it up because it's not like that conversation appears to be going away anytime soon. So yes, that's it. There were other things, including security and all sorts of other things, but we've run out of time. It only remains for me to ask you to join me in the humiliation that is the wave that we always do at the end of this show. What we always do is we put the hands up like this. Am I going to get Maestro and Mike? Is Mike's is he going to do it? Or he's cleared off, look. Oh, that'll do. That'll do nicely. That's perfect. Let's go with that. That's very cool indeed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the people who posted comments. Deep, heartfelt thanks to Maestro, to Vicky, aka Kathy, to Dennis, don't know who he is, and to just Demo. I appreciate it so much. It's been a fabulous conversation, full of insight, and yeah, really great. Hopefully we'll get you back on the show at some other point. Take it easy, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.